Okay, we are standing in my kitchen today to talk about data collection. So what is data collection? It's pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. Basically, data collection is when you take information and organize it so that you can use that information for other purposes. Data collection is most often used in science. There's a lot of data collection that's used in sports. Data collection is actually used everywhere. Even your banks use data collection. It's just a matter of taking a bunch of information, similar information sometimes random information, and organizing that information. So, for example, right now you're looking, or we have some food here, since we're in my kitchen. We have some food here to examine, and we're going to do some data collection using the food. These are seemingly healthy foods, but if I wanted to compare these foods to see what's better for you, or to kind of get an idea of a group of food and the calories and the grams and the fat content, we could look at the labels and we can start recording some data. So what we're going to do is we're going to record data on these 4 different items. First thing I want to do when I start recording data is, the easiest thing for me is to start a table, is to draw a table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a table. Now generally when you create a table, you're going to have 2 columns, and sometimes you can get intricate and you can have 3 or 4 columns depending on what you're comparing. But for all intents and purposes for this year and for right now, we're going to have 2 columns. We have to decide what 2 things we want to compare. In this instance, what I'm going to compare is I'm going to compare the number of grams of an item, a food item. So grams is one side. And I'm going to compare that to the calories in that food item. What I'm really trying to find out here is if I have more grams, is that going to increase my calories? And by how much is that going to increase the calories? We're not going to go through the whole experiment or the whole data information and synthesis, but we are going to look at all the information real quick. So right here I'm holding a can of tuna fish, and it has about 56 grams. So I'm going to write down, as part of my data collection, 56 grams. And of course, I'm just going to label this table just in case you forget. Most of you have seen tables before. This is not a new concept to you. Well, 56 grams for this serving of tuna fish, it has about 50 calories. And if you keep up with calories or anything like that, 50 calories is not too bad. It's not until you stick the mayonnaise in it like I do that it starts to get pretty bad calories. Okay, so this is my tuna fish, and I might label out here to the side, tuna fish. Okay, just so I can keep track of what it is I'm looking at. Alright, now I'm going to look at these pineapple slices. This has about 114 grams. And it has about 60 calories. So you should be able to infer right away, just by looking at these 2 things, that the pineapple slices are actually a lot more healthier for you than the tuna fish. You can go ahead and label this. I know my handwriting is not great when I write smaller. Okay, let's look at the chocolate chunk bars. Okay, these are granola bars. For 1 serving, which would be 1 bar, you have about 24 grams. And in that 24 grams, you have about 90 calories. Okay? Again, now we're looking at a little bit less healthy. Obviously, you're adding chocolate into that. It's going to go up, so that's just kind of common sense. And again, this is our granola bar. And then finally, we're going to look at Kellogg's Raisin Bran with cinnamon almonds. Okay? For 1 serving size, we're looking at about 58 grams. And then within those 58 grams, we're looking at about 200 calories. That doesn't even include the milk. So that is not really as healthy as people like to think it is. So this is our Raisin Bran. Okay, so we've successfully completed our data collection. We've collected data. Simply put, just data collection. Okay, now, what do we do with this data collection? Why do we have data collected? Where can we go further? Well, we can already start drawing comparisons between all the different items that we've done. But the biggest thing that people do once they have a table created or data collected is they make graphs. Okay? And again, this should be something that's somewhat familiar to you. Okay, here's our y-axis and our x-axis. Now when we create these axes, you're going to have to make a determination of what goes on what axis. Okay? So for the x-axis, usually your x value is in that first column and your y value is in the second column. So for that x-axis, I'm going to label this my grams. Okay? In my y-axis, I'm going to label calories. And then based on my numbers here, I'm just going to kind of create some scale of some sort. I'm just going to go ahead and go by 10. It's not a big deal right now. This is just an example. Okay? So here's 0, obviously, and then I have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Okay? Going up my calories. My calories are a little bit bigger, so I might go by 20s, or in this case, I'm going to go by 50s. So 50, 100, 150, and 200. And all I really need to do for the data collection process is to plot some points. So, for my tuna fish, I'm going to go over to 56, or roughly 56, and go up to 50 calories. So it's somewhere here. Okay? For my pineapple, I actually don't have enough room on my graph for the grams. I didn't make my graph proper, but it's about 114, so it's kind of way down here, and it's 60 calories. So I'm going to go over here and up here. Okay? That's kind of a guesstimation. I know that's not accurate, but just for this example, it's fine. My granola bar is 24 grams, and about 90 calories, so up here. And then again, my Raisin Bran, the last thing here, my Raisin Bran is 58 and about 200 calories. So that's way up here. And I might put label so I know what the colors are of each thing I just did. And that keeps my data organized. And again, what we have now is we've taken data collection, we've collected the data, we've looked at the information, we've taken the data from the table now and put it onto a graph, and you can start seeing where the healthier food is. It seems like the lower it is as far as vertically, the lower it is on the y-axis, probably the more healthy it is. We would agree that probably Raisin Bran is the least healthy of all of those things, and it's way up here on the vertically on the y-axis. The granola bar, again, it's got the chocolate. It's not quite as healthy either, and it's a little higher up on the y-axis. So basically what we've done is we've collected data, and we've used that data to compare. As we move further on in this unit, you're going to start learning about scatter plots and what we can do, even more stuff to do some predictions using our data collection and using the information that we see on the tables and in the graphs. So basically, simply put, data collection is taking information, okay, and organizing it into a clear and concise manner so that you can use it later on for comparisons, for predictions, and for any other analysis that you need in the future. So to sum it up, data collection is very simple. We'll use this later on as we move towards scatter plots.